Hi, my name is Sheila Glenn, and I'm here with my coworker Tracy DeLossi, and we're here to talk about today how we went from 0 at-home students to 100% for online learning in about 2 days when we were shut down for COVID. This is the forward-looking statement disclaimer. I'm just going to pause here for a moment. Again, my name is Sheila Glenn. I've been working at Ridley School District for the last 14 years. I am a system admin for JNUC with Tracy, along with our other systems we run. I've been married for 33 years, and I have a wonderful son and daughter-in-law who live in Vermont. And I'm going to turn this over to Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy DeLossi. As Sheila said, I'm also a system administrator at Ridley School District. I've been there for about 16 years, and we've been administrating JNUC for at least the last, since 2013. And I also wear other hats there at Ridley School District in other administration fields, and also in tech support and things like that. So I'm also a wife and a mother of 2 beautiful children, and I've also been married for 33 years. So Sheila and I have a lot in common. I'm also here to introduce you to Ridley School District. Ridley School District consists of 7 elementary schools, a middle school, a high school. We have 3 support buildings. Our total employees run about 1,110 right now, and our current, as of the typing of this presentation, was 5,726 students with the current enrollment. I think we're running a little bit higher than that right now that school has started. We also have a tech department support staff for all these buildings. We have 1 tech director, a network administrator. We have 4 system admins, Sheila and I included. There are 7 building technicians, and we have 1 certified Apple repair tech. We also have 3 teachers who are on what's called special assignment, and we call them our TOSAs. They work with the curriculum for the teachers and the students, and they also have a lot of technical know-how, and we work very closely with them so that when something does occur, they are there to help the students and the staff get through it. We have, in our school district, we have a 1-to-1 iPad initiative, and we've been doing that since 2013. That's approximately 6,500 iPads. That was, again, at the time that we were typing up this presentation, and we're running right now about 6,850 now that school has started. We have a 1-to-1 for K-12, so every student in the school district has an iPad. All of our teachers have a Mac laptop and an iPad. So we're 2-to-1 for them. And for the administrators, we're 3-to-1. They have a desktop, a laptop, and an iPad. And all of those devices are managed through JNUC. Basically, on March 13th, what happened was we were notified that we were probably going to be closed down for about 2 weeks for COVID. 2 weeks. Basically, we had our last day of instruction of regular classes was March 13th. March 16th and 17th, our school district used as snow days. Those snow days our department used to plan how we were going to tackle our 2-week shutdown. March 18th, 2020 was our first day of our online classes. And I'm going to toss this back to Sheila right now.
So we had some objectives to try and accomplish when we were making these plans. We wanted to organize a dynamic process to educate our kids, just like we do in brick and mortar. And we needed a good, solid support system for the staff and students. And the most important thing that we wanted to do was try and keep a little bit of normalcy about things in this crazy, crazy time. So at our district, we use Canvas as our learning management system. We've been using that for about the past 7 years. Our teachers use it. They put on their lessons for students to access for instruction. Our elementaries use it more now than before. They were using it a lot for single sign-on for other systems, but they have incorporated a lot of that in there. We also have a ticketing system that we use for technology issues. If a staff or student has a problem, the teacher or staff would put the ticket in, and then it gets assigned to the proper technician. If the building tech can't resolve the problem, then it would get escalated up to our Tier 2 people. We use Clever for single sign-on for some of our systems, and we also provide ongoing professional development to our teachers, and they can use a couple different kinds of professional development. We have RPI, which is for Ridley Professional Institute, where our teachers teach teachers and they earn their Act 48 credits. We also provide professional development through the year. So other systems that we use Let's Go Learn in our elementary. We also use eSpark. A couple of years ago when Tracy and I were at JNUC, we got eSpark and JAMF together. eSpark had their own MDM, and we really at Ridley wanted to use them in the classroom, but we couldn't have two different MDMs. So we were able to help eSpark and JAMF get partnered together. We also use systems like MathEdge, McGraw-Hill, Google Docs for education, and Gmail. So the way it works in our system, our teachers create master courses in Canvas for whatever content area they deliver. And what happens is PowerSchool is our student information system, and there is a connection from PowerSchool to Canvas nightly through SIF. And so that pulls over our student accounts plus all of the sections and enrollments. So when those shells from PowerSchool get to Canvas, the teachers can go to their master course and copy that content into the shell so that the students can then log in. They do their assignments, they submit their assignments, tests, quizzes, or whatever is needed. We also use Clever for single sign-on for some of our systems. It makes life considerably easier when doing that. I'm now going to turn this back over to Tracy.
So we basically went this in 2 days. And how we did that was we set up a phone line for our support. We had literally nobody was allowed to be in our buildings at that point. So we had to figure out how we were going to tier out our phone tree so that we could try and keep support as normal as possible. We decided on a phone tree layout. For example, if you were having a PowerSchool problem, after you called the hotline, you could press 1, etc., and then that would go to the appropriate person in our support tiers. We had all of our building techs in place to field the phone calls for their respective buildings. And we use the tool that we use to get there is the Rainbow app. And we use that for all levels of technology support. We also used it for our own interdepartmental communication. We had, there's a little chat bubble in there so we could communicate constantly with each other to try and make sure that we had the information that we needed on as timely a basis as we possibly could. We also used Splashtop for Business And that was our way of actually getting to see some of the iPads, because sometimes you're trying to support somebody through a process and they say, I don't know where that is. And this way we can look at the device, we could see it, and we could point out exactly where it was on the device so that we could kind of help them along. The same thing worked with our teacher laptops. We would use them, and we would actually be able to take control of those devices with permission and get anything resolved that we needed to get resolved. The way that we distributed all those apps was with Jamf, and we also use Jamf to continue to push out all of the apps that we constantly need, especially with eSpark. They're on an ongoing deployment. As a student finishes up a quest, they get a whole host of new apps that they have at that point that they just come down and go away automatically. It's a fabulous process.
Yep, and because of the foundation that we already had built, not only for our support, but for our online learning, because we have been working with this with our teachers for about the last 7 years, that made our transition into going totally online a much smoother process. Don't get me wrong, it was not perfect. Of course, nothing is, but we were able to pull something together. We were able to continue with instruction. And it worked. I'm going to give this to Tracy.
Thank you. We also had a repair process that we had to create because, again, not being allowed to be in the buildings, we had to come up with some sort of new process. What we came up with were if a student had a problem that the device actually needed to be handled, we would have one of our techs in charge of drop off and pick up. So basically we would create a duplicate device for that student, and they would come into, it would be arranged for them to come in to pick it up. They would drop off their old device, which at that point we had to quarantine for 5 days because we weren't sure how long COVID lived on these devices before we were allowed to touch them and disinfect them at that point. So we quarantined them for 5 days, and then we got them a replacement device right away. So their education process was really not impeded for very long. That was just for the iPads. For the laptops, we would have a swap out device also created, and that was also scheduled in through the same employee who would manage the swap outs of all the devices. We tried to do it in as zero touch way as possible, and they also were quarantined for 5 days before any technician was permitted to touch it.
So what we learned,
I'm going to start out.
We learned an awful lot.
Basically, there we're talking over each other. Basically, what we learned was that with nobody in the buildings answering phones, we were the only people that anybody could contact in our school district. So we were basically getting phone calls for every single thing that happened. If a student left something in their locker, we were notified. If a student needed to communicate with their teacher and couldn't somehow get through to them through email, we were notified. We literally got calls for everything. So what we're planning on doing for this school year is rolling out the Rainbow app for all admins and teachers. We're not quite there yet, but we're close. Go ahead, Sheila. You can take the next one.
So the other thing we discovered is students, they tend not to do schoolwork during the school work day, which is okay because that's asynchronous learning. But when they were trying to call for tech help at 10 o'clock or midnight, they weren't getting anybody because we don't have that kind of support help in place. That's not the design. But, we worked around that and, just notified people that support is between 8 and 4. And, and not that people didn't call, and we just also decided not to introduce any new curriculum at that time. so that we weren't, starting new things and implementing new products. It would have been very unwieldy to do that. The one thing that impacted support is home Wi-Fi's. Definitely a huge impact on how we support people. If there's restrictions, parental restrictions on a home Wi-Fi, it was preventing a lot of work from being able to get done. So these are some of the things that we, discovered, and, we would have to tell the parents they have to disable that for the time being, or, put it back on when your child's done working. When they have those parental controls on their Wi-Fi at home. These were some of the stumbling blocks that we came across, and, they're just part of the whole process. So we really wanted to thank you for listening today. We hope that you'll click the little widget below for completing the survey. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.